Welcome to our next module. In this module, we're going to be answering the question, how do you bring more productivity, more creativity into teams? Let's take a look at this PowerPoint presentation and feel free to take notes. You will be provided with the slides, and I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to be doing that. So let's begin. This module is going to be in two parts, and we're going to be looking at promoting creativity as well as innovative thinking in a team environment. All this information was created at Harvard University in the Entrepreneurship and Innovation class, which is a team building class. In 2016, I created at Harvard what's called the OIP, or Optimal Innovation Process. In 2016, when I created this, it was basically the combination of all the years that I've had of brainstorming with teams. And good teams, bad teams. This is basically best practices. The technique is very quick, it's very efficient, and it gets rid of what I call innovation suppression. A lot of us talk about wanting to have innovative teams, but when you really look at the environments that we work in, there's a lot of suppression to innovation that isn't necessarily seen very obviously, but it's there. And I'm going to point it out, what it is, how to identify it, how to get rid of it, and how to create an optimal environment. We are going to be mimicking the mindset and innovative behaviors of high-performing teams, and we're going to be creating what I call idea threads. And we're going to be merging these threads together. The basic idea is, let's say we have 5 people in a team. One person could have 5 ideas. Everyone together could have 5 ideas, but we don't like everyone's ideas together. We might like one idea from one team member, one idea from another team member. Those individual ideas are what I call idea threads. And what we do is that we merge one idea from one team member with an idea from another member, and we weave together those idea threads into ideas that would have never existed had we not been in a team. Now, why is this important? If you take a look at data from the World Economic Forum for 2020, the top 10 skills are listed here on my screen. And what you'll notice is the majority of them have to deal with creativity. However, people don't really teach us how to be creative, but I'm going to in this PowerPoint. Now, also, if we take a look at what's happened in the United States as well as in China and around the world, creativity has been the #1 talent to have 3 years in a row, taking a look at industry leaders on what they like. Now, the interesting thing is that we're all actually born creative, all of us as children. However, as we grow older, we learn about rules, rules that need to be followed. And the more rules we have, the more that starts to erode creativity. This is a quote from my mother. I heard this growing up my entire life. You don't have to be different, Michael. I was actually very different. I didn't conform to much when I was a child. And my mother actually said, that's not a good thing. You need to be like other people. You'll make more friends. And so from a very early age, we all get this messaging that there are rules and we need to follow them, and don't be as much of an individual. So conformity, or following the rules, actually harms and kills innovation and creativity. But oddly enough, now everyone wants innovation and creativity, but how do you bring it back from childhood? Well, here are the 6 things that I have identified as actually harming. I call them innovation killers. Here are the 6. There's really 12. One is judging, people judging you negatively. There's negative thinking, someone in the group who just says all the ideas are bad. People shaming you, saying that's a bad idea. Why are you bringing that up? That's not appropriate. Peer pressure, saying the other groups are doing it this way, you're trying to do it a different way, please fall in line. Comparing yourselves to other people or other groups, that's another innovation killer. And the worst of all is perfectionism. Perfectionists aren't really great innovators because they're afraid to have an idea that isn't fully developed. So they tend to keep it to themselves. Innovation and creativity is messy, and we need to be able to have that messiness. So perfectionism, and I'm a perfectionist, I actually have to put my perfectionism away and say it's okay that I come up with an idea that isn't fully developed. So I'm going to invite you to be an innovator with me during this module and the next module. This information is so important and so vast, it's actually going to be covering 2 videos. This is part 1. The innovation tools that I'm going to be giving you, there's 8 of them. This is innovation tool number 1, where I encourage you to turn problems into puzzles. Here's what typically happens with people is they have something that they need to innovate or a problem that needs to solve. And that's the beginning issue. They look at it as a problem. A problem is a negative word. It's negative thinking. It starts you off negatively. If you're thinking in a negative frame of mind, creativity is hard to have. You need to be in a more positive frame of mind. So what I encourage you to do is take a look at your problems as if they were puzzles instead. And you'll see in this video, this picture here, I actually owned a food company several years ago. And one of my challenges was trying to get a powder that was an amino acid from green tea that helped with focus and concentration. I wanted that to be on the outside layer of my food product so that it would be absorbed by the inner lining of the cheeks. And more of it would go to the brain quicker, and half of it wouldn't be destroyed by stomach acid. I couldn't figure out how to get this ingredient on just the outside of the bar when my entire food product was mixed in a big mixer. I had a party and I said, here's a puzzle. How do I get this one ingredient just on the outside? And what we came up with was turn it into a powder and coat it on the outside after the bar is baked, which is what we did. And from this, I came up what I call play the chair game. And this is a game that you're going to have an opportunity to play for your homework, where you take an object, let's say a chair. Most chairs have 4 legs. And the goal is with the team to redesign a chair that still acts as a chair. Someone can still sit in it, but it has to have a completely different design. So you could get rid of the back of the chair. You could get rid of one of the legs so it doesn't have 4 legs. You could add a leg so it has 5 legs. You could turn it into a cube as a square. So basically what the chair game does is you take an object, you have to redesign it so it no longer looks like that object, but it needs to have the same function. So that's what I call the chair game. And adding a leg or taking away a leg or taking the back off would be something that would be appropriate for the chair game. So that's innovation tool number 1. Just simply redesign it, but the function stays the same. And when you look at these challenges, they're not problems, they're puzzles. So this is just a different way to think of them. Innovation tool number 2 is I call it move it from here to there and twist it game. This is another game that you're going to be able to play. If you take a look at this, the lit up button, this is a call button in an airplane. You press the button and the attendant comes and they'll give you a drink, or they'll give you a blanket, or give you some water, whatever you need. But this is typically only seen in the airline industry. However, what if you move this call button into a different industry and maybe twisted its function to do something else? So this button is a call button. It calls a person to you to do something for you, a drink or food or a blanket. But imagine that we took this out of the airplane and we put it into the restaurant industry. So now it's going to be at tables and it could call the waiter or waitress over. But what if you twisted it? What if you had another button where it would tell the waiter or waitress, stay away, I want privacy. Perhaps I'm proposing to someone that I want to get married to, or I'm having an important meeting, or I just want to have some privacy and not be interrupted. So taking the tool from the airline industry, a call button, into the restaurant industry on the ground, doing the same function, but then also the opposite function, calling over the server and then asking them to please stay away for privacy. This is the second game that you're going to have an option to play for your homework. Innovation technique number 3 is avoiding other people's ideas. A lot of times we want to see what other people are doing to get ideas from them. However, that can actually box us in and reduce our own innovative thinking. The photograph that you see here in the PowerPoint is meant to represent the Chengdu moon. In Chengdu, they're trying to get rid of streetlights, and what they're considering doing is putting up a satellite into the sky that would look kind of like a disco ball, and it would reflect the sun at night so that you would have light on the ground and you wouldn't need streetlights, and it would actually be safer. You'd have better lighting, and it would save energy. However, if you got this first idea that it's going to be a satellite in the sky, and your team tries to come up with a better idea, you might start to be thinking only about things that are in the sky and thinking of aerospace solutions, when really what you're trying to do is just see at night. You're not necessarily trying to light up the city. What you really want to do is have the people to be able to see at night, and you might not necessarily need a light to do that. So this is why I'd encourage you, use your own ideas, and it might be helpful and more innovative if you didn't look at what other people were doing, because you could have a better, more original idea. Innovation tool number 4 is looking for relationships in unrelated areas. This is a tiger, and tigers typically will crouch down and then they jump up and they arc over. And what I noticed when I owned a money management firm is the stock market will go straight down, and then when it goes up, it tends to arc over, just like a tiger movement. And I actually got an idea for a trading system based on the animal movement of a tiger jumping in a zoo. So I encourage you to take a look at relationships completely outside of the industry that you're looking at, to see if perhaps you could see some movement or some relationships that you see in one industry or one area of life that could fit somewhere else. So here is your 20-minute homework. You're going to be gathering 3 to 7 colleagues, and you're going to do one of these 2 games. So the first game we already talked about. Choice number 1 is the chair game, where you would take a chair or any object you like and make a significant physical redesign of the object, and it still has to provide the same function. So you could take a chair and redesign the chair, or you could take this watch or this watch, and you could completely redesign the watch. It just has to do the same function. You could do the same thing for a pen, redesign it in any way you like. It just has to still write. Choice number 2 is move it from here to there game. So again, you're going to be taking a physical product that is normally associated with one industry, and you're going to apply it to a completely different industry, and it provides the same function and it adds new functions as well. Okay? So for example, this is a glass and it holds water. Okay? Well, what you could do is that you could turn this into the floral industry, and you could put flowers in it, and you could have your flowers grow, and this now is going to be a vase. So what I encourage you to do is just take something from one industry and see if you can move it to a different industry, doing the same function but adding new functions as well. So I wish you good luck, and I will see you at the next lesson.